All right, I think this is my sixth time trying to film this video. I'm just committing now. Whatever I say is just staying on the table. I'm not editing this. I'm just going to upload it and be done with it. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the cold, hard truth about working for Storror, from shutting down my company and working to Storror, and how that has been. But firstly, I just want to address the fact that I am in my upstairs spare bedroom of our house that used to be the original Motors office. So, weird full circle moment. And also, I just want to say thank you for all the kind of kind words I've had over the months. I've had people reaching out asking if I was going to do more of these videos. I've had people, trying to keep the kind of Motus flame alive in various ways and things like this. And yeah, it's all kind of cool. And then, I mean, really, I'm doing this video and then future videos for myself. I do like this thing of sharing. I was speaking to Keelan the other day, and he said that he kind of missed them because they were just like these unfiltered looks into me and my mind, which I thought was weird given that he was sitting next to me and often sits next to me, and he's one of the people I speak to the most. But yeah, I like doing them, and there's a few people who like knowing what's going on, and I for reasons that I'll probably go on to explain in future videos, like I like this concept of sharing and building two things. So yeah, let's get down to the juice, the juicy juice. How is it working for Storror, the biggest parkour brand in the world, after closing down my company that I was in love with, and well, I say in love with, I mean sometimes I fucking hated it, but I was married to for 7 years. To anyone thinking that this is going to have negatives in it, you're going to be massively disappointed, because honestly, it is just overwhelmingly positive. I think I can speak for myself, blogging, and Keelan, in the sense that I feel like we're all very happy. We've slotted in. I mean, we obviously all knew the Storrors for years prior, so it's just like working with your friends and hanging out with your friends more than you already did. But in terms of the kind of, I mean, we've all got different workloads, and there's been times where things have been very stressful, and there's been a lot going on over the last few months, but it has just been, personally, and I hope for the other guys, just really, really great. I imagine there's probably people thinking like, oh, well, you probably have like less creative control and less kind of decisions to make and things like this. Maybe it doesn't feel like you kind of own the thing anymore. And while those may factually be true, they are nothing that like weighs heavy on my shoulders. If anything, I feel lighter and happier and more relaxed than I ever have in probably the last like decade, which is feels phenomenal. It has just been stepping in and going. I spoke about some of this stuff on the Storror podcast, like kind of just going like, oh wow, well, the stuff that I was really focusing on with Motus to kind of keep Motus alive and keep Motus growing is stuff that the Storrors have somewhat neglected because they were focused on like YouTube growth. And now we have this blending of strategies and minds and techniques and ways to, let's be honest, kind of generate revenue, because that's what a business does, and just also put out more creative things, whether that's clothing projects or sort of projects surrounding that. I mean, I am pretty much solely based on like the clothing side of the business, but it's not like I'm blind to the video side of the business. So we're all operating from the same office, and it feels just fucking great. And I think something that has been amazing for me to kind of learn and like grow through, and I said this on the Storror podcast, but now we're kind of even further down the line and it just feels even better, is that there were periods where I seriously was jealous and had so much resentment to the Storrors and things they were doing, and because there would be times when Motus was doing awfully and they would be doing great, and I'm just one of those people where that shit can really, really get to me and build up in my head. And it's funny because you obviously, when you're in those dark periods, you can't, and people get it all the time, whether they're comparing themselves to someone on Instagram or a celebrity or whatever, like you assume that person, that thing, that business has it all fucking figured out. And more and more as life goes on, I experience that no one does. And stepping into Storror has been like this realization of like, wow, like I thought, you know, everything was peachy over here, and actually, you know, not to say there was anything kind of disastrously wrong or anything negative about Storror, but like there was work for me to do. There was things where I could go, hey guys, like I know how to make this better. So I feel incredibly fucking valued. I feel like the stuff that I've been able to share with the guys, the conversations we've had, the work we've done so far has just felt, I hope you can tell from this video, like it just feels fucking great. And as I said, the weight off of my shoulders is significant. And sorry, I have got notes, so I'm just looking over here and I wrote way too much. So rather than scanning bullet points, I'm trying to scan sentences. But yeah, it's feeling heard, appreciated, working as part of a bigger machine where we can do more quickly because there's more kind of gears in that machine. Like there were a lot of things when it came down to motors that would be an idea I would have, and I would try and sort of get some of the guys involved, and not everyone was available. Or if it was just Keelan and Bloggy, it's like, well, Keelan might have been deep on an edit with Soul, and Bloggy was sort of doing clothing thing. Like sometimes there was just too much for each of us to really excel in those areas, and now it feels like we've kind of refined what we're doing, and now we can really like dial in on those things. So it's like rather than being so broadly spread, we're like this and deeper. I don't know what else to say really. Like it just, I kind of just wanted to record this so that to give you guys a bit of an update, and because I will be continuing to do these, I'll go on to explain in a bit why, and maybe some different formats and things. But I think the only real negatives are distance, in the sense that I live an hour and 20 minutes away from Brighton, so obviously the drive can be quite long. I'm not down there every day. In some ways I'd love to be, in other ways I do love working from home. I can just wake up, like see Daisy and Sarah off, and then just sit on my laptop and just blast work for technically longer than I can in Brighton. But it is nice to be around people. So yeah, there's obviously petrol money that kind of gets factored into that, and then the parking at the office is extortionate, which sort of hurts every time. But the flip side of that coin is that I am spending so much more time with Sarah, and sort of most importantly Daisy, and I'm so much more present. Like I love working, and I will sit on my laptop in the evenings, especially when Daisy's gone down, and you know, but motors consumed me. I would wake up on a Sunday or whatever when it should be kind of, you know, stereotypically a relaxing day or something like a family day, and I would just be constantly tinkering, trying to just improve things. Like I was never not thinking about just how to survive the next month ahead, especially in that last year or so. And as I said, I love working, and I will, you know, Sarah's popped up to the shops or she's having a nap or something and it's a Sunday, I'm probably going to sit on my laptop and do bits of work because I prefer that than watching something mindless on Netflix or whatever. But it's the fact that I can much more easily switch off and enjoy the growing up and development of my daughter, who is just my favorite being on the planet. Like watching that process, seeing, I mean, she is now this little girl. Like she runs about, jumps, little chatterbox. Like we're starting swimming lessons this week, and it's just like, it is the best fucking thing in my life. And taking the pressure off my shoulders so that I'm not like crushed by this sort of failing business has just enabled me to actually be so much more involved, which like, you know, I can't not think is a good thing. Yeah. The only other like kind of negative, and it's not really a negative, but it's just a strange feeling, is that it has left me with somewhat more time than I have been used to in years. And obviously, as I just said, like I'm spending a lot of that time with family and Daisy and things like this, but I think my brain just has more space in it. Just like there's a lot less panic and worry and stuff, and it's a very strange feeling. Like I don't know if anyone, I'm sure there'll be people out there who can relate to this, but yeah, it's very, very peculiar. And as I said, I think in this video, it might have been the one I tried to record before, like there have been ups and downs over the last few months. There's been, like, shutting down motors hasn't been it's been straightforward, if straightforward is fucking bumpy and all over the place. And I have incurred a sort of, more personal debt than anyone would want to. But I'm also quite thankful that the picture was looking a lot worse. There's a lot of technicalities with regards to limited companies and sort of how much the person behind it is protected, and some things have personal guarantees and blah 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 blah. I'm not going to go into all of that, but my financial situation still could be far 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 better. Like, I have still somewhat fucked up the last 10 years of what is considered the best 10 years of kind of compounding interest if I was investing and saving and things like this. But I'm still here, and I've learned a fuck ton, far, far more than a lot of people. And obviously I have gone through periods in the last few years where I didn't want to be here, and now I really, really fucking truly do. But yeah, I have more mental space, so I'm trying to learn more things and read more and do more. But there is one, I told myself I wouldn't work on anything else for 6 to 12 months. No business ideas, nothing. And because there are, although I had a sort of, I guess you could say the business failed. I technically shut it down. It could have continued. But I had a failure. In some ways, I wish that failure had happened over the space of 12 months rather than 7 years, because you can, do something, fail fast, iterate, try again, etc., etc., etc. That's somewhat the best way to do things, is to sort of fail fast, but it didn't happen for me. But there are other things I want to do. There's other things I want to try. Not to say that I want to stop working for Storror. It's just, I like the idea of kind of, I fucking hate the term entrepreneurship. I hate the idea of being like, oh, well, I'm an entrepreneur, therefore there's businesses I want to start. But like, that's the sort of the simple matter of fact, is I don't just want to stop here and go, oh, I'm just going to work for Storror at this capacity for the next 40 years. Like, no part of me wants to stop working for Storror anytime soon. I would love to work for them for the next 40 years. I'd love to fucking build that brand to a gargantuan scale over the next 40 years. But I feel like I have the capacity to be a bit more multifaceted than that once the whole Storror thing kind of gets, like, settled, and I can compartmentalize that to a portion of my brain. And yeah, so I told myself I wasn't going to do anything, but I can't do it, apparently. So there is one thing I've been doing, which literally a handful of people know I have started, and I will reveal it in my next video. And it is somewhat related to because obviously I had the whole 20 years of parkour, big video, photo book, blah, 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 blah. Like, I wanted to do that whole thing, and I was really quite passionate about it. And Closing Motors kind of really put that to bed. I have been in talks with people about doing something of that type of thing in the next couple of years, maybe sort of as a Jump Britain anniversary or something. All of these are just fleeting conversations at the moment. But I've been doing something, and I'm really excited about it, and I'll talk about it in my next video. So, bye.